Good morning, and welcome to today's Public Safety Press Conference for Monique for Congress campaign. My name is Ed Deal. I am the state representative for House District 17, which covers East Salem through the Santiam Canyon. As an engineer, a manager, an employer, and a business owner, I joined the state legislature to solve the most challenging problems facing our state. And at the top of my list, and just about everybody's list, is public safety. During the 2023 legislative session, I was fortunate to work with a partner in this effort, Monique. Monique DeSpain was working for Common Sense for Oregon at the time, and I discovered that we shared the same mindset to tackle the tough problems. Together with Representative Mannix's legislative team and others, we worked to pull 6 impactful bills to the floor on a day that we deemed Public Safety Day. Through this work, I learned about Monique's focus, determination, and intellect. I also learned about her extraordinary experience in the U.S. Air Force, defending our nation, working as a lawyer for the Judge Advocate General's Court. Monique brings the passion, experience, and sensibility needed to solve complex problems. And I noticed she asks the right questions, relentlessly pursues the answers, and brings a fresh perspective that is often lacking in the halls of the legislature. That's why I'm honored to endorse her in her campaign to represent Oregon's 4th Congressional District. And I look forward to seeing her in action in Congress, working for Oregonians, addressing the public safety crisis now facing our state and nation. Now it's my honor to introduce to you a tireless advocate for the rights of crime victims and their families in Oregon, Crime Victims United President Steve Dole. Steve began his work as a fighter for crime victims back in 1994, following the tragic murder of his 12-year-old daughter, Lisa, by a violent juvenile on October 21st, 1922. In 1994, Steve was instrumental in the passage of ballot measures 10 and 11, which involved minimum mandatory sentences for certain violent crimes and sex crimes. In 1996, he worked measures 26 and 40, the constitutional foundation for public safety and sentencing laws and crime victims' rights in Oregon. He also helped pass laws such as the Oregon Child Abuse and Murder Statute, also known as Jessica's Law, and the Aggravated Vehicular Homicide Statute. In addition, in 2000, he led the No on Measure 94 campaign. Measure 94 would have repealed the minimum mandatory sentencing for Measure 11. And thanks to Steve's efforts, the measure was defeated by a margin of 3-1. He also played a major role in the referral and passage of Measures 51 and 52 in 2008, which gives crime victims the right to judicial review when their constitutional rights have been violated. And in 2009, Steve co-founded and served as president of the Oregon Crime Victims Law Center, a clinic for crime victims who have had their rights denied. Please join me in welcoming Steve Dole.
Thank you, Representative Deal. I'm proud of the work that we did decades ago and in the decades since to secure protections for crime victims and to ensure our state's laws hold criminals accountable for their actions while prioritizing the public safety of law-abiding citizens first. In recent years, we've witnessed an unraveling of these protections, a disregard and disrespect for crime victims in favor of criminals, and as a result, a dramatic decline in public safety, threatening many of the foundations of the rule of law in our state and the subsequent increase in crime rates. A few years ago, I got to know Monique DeSpain as she filed suit with Representative Mannix to stand up for crime victims and demand that the laws, particularly the clemency laws and the crime victims' rights constitutional amendments, were followed. She demonstrated a keen understanding of what was at stake and showed a spirit of determination to fight for what is right, even when corrupt, rear politicians seem ready to give in or actively undermine crime victims' rights. I'm here today to say that Monique DeSpain is the kind of fighter for public safety, law enforcement, and crime victims that we need in Washington, D.C. With Monique serving the 4th District in Congress, we can turn the tide and restore the rule of law, bring back safe neighborhoods, and once again see crime victims protected as they deserve to be. Now, I'd like to introduce to you my longtime friend and my mentor, State Representative Kevin Mannix. Kevin has spent decades as a leading victim advocate, and through his work as founder of Common Sense for Oregon and the Oregon Anti-Crime Alliance, he was the author of Measure 11, Mandatory Minimum Sentencing for Violent Crimes. He has been a candidate for governor, a former chairman of the Oregon Republican Party, and has served as an Oregon state representative in the 1990s and has since returned to the legislature in 2023 representing House District 21. Kevin is the owner of the Mannix Law Firm, where he's defended small business, churches, and schools against government overreach, and as I mentioned, in working with Monique DeSpain, challenged former Governor Kate Brown over her mass release of violent criminals and failure to follow state clemency and crime victims' rights laws. Kevin?
Thank you, Steve. We're here today to talk about public safety and to talk about our crusade to change the public safety environment across the nation, in Oregon, and in our local communities. But in terms of congressional office, we have a candidate who will be able to help direct and redirect our nation in terms of respect for public safety, protection of victims, protection of all of our society against those who would do us harm, both personally in terms of victim crimes that are personal crimes, but also in terms of assaults on our society, in terms of the damage people do through other crimes such as auto theft and burglary. We need to have a national environment supported by our Congress where we are going to renew and expand the fight against crime. Monique DeSpain is unique in the sense that she has already demonstrated her commitment to our nation through her service in the United States Air Force, retiring as a colonel from the Judge Advocate General Corps, having worked then as an attorney for the U.S. Air Force. And in that service, she received a top security clearance. She has worked abroad on our behalf, and fortunately, 3 years ago, I managed to hire her for my law firm and find out what a unique, dynamic individual she is in all respects and as an attorney. But here we're talking about her as a candidate for the United States Congress. And in that respect, I was able to see Monique become uniquely involved in the legislative process on behalf of Common Sense for Oregon, pushing for reforms to improve our public safety system. She demonstrated this capability to relate to people, to reach out to them, and to understand that we are all working for the real folks out there, not the political elites. And in that service, she's reached out to legislators, but she's also reached out to supporters of Common Sense. Watching her work in that regard, when I found out that she was being recruited to be a candidate for Congress, I thought, what better candidate could one find for the 4th Congressional District? So I'm proud to align myself with and to be here in support of this extraordinary woman, Monique DeSpain.
thank you, Representative Mannix, for your kind introduction. Thank you also, Representative Deal, and thank you, Crime Victims United, President Dole, for being here today and for your powerful words of support. I'm humbled by the outpouring of support from retired and current law enforcement from every corner of our district, representing 478 years of service. Public safety is the #1 responsibility of our government. Today, too many career politicians have abandoned this sober responsibility in favor of radically transforming our criminal justice system to one where law enforcement is defunded, criminals rewarded, and crime victims are left abused and forgotten. Citizens are seeing their neighborhoods overwhelmed by crime, homelessness, and drug trafficking. A few years ago, I was pleased to join the Mannix Law Firm and work with him and his amazing team in holding our elected officials accountable for their overreach and rogue activities that actually harm Oregonians. As a retired Air Force colonel and lawyer, I know what fighting for our country and our communities looks like. I'm running for Congress to reverse the policies damaging our communities and harming people, and to restore the livability that we all deserve. Right now, we have a Congresswoman, Val Hoyle, who prioritizes her membership in the Progressive Caucus in Congress, whose objectives include defunding the police, keeping an open, unsecured border, and whose members are funded by groups who call for more chaos. Val Hoyle has simply brought her broken Oregon policies that have devastated Portland, Salem, and Eugene and delivered them to Congress. Every day, we read headlines of record drug busts of enough fentanyl to kill millions of people right here in the 4th District. We hear of devastated families mourning a personal loss. Their loss is one of the 100,000 overdose deaths a year. We see homeless encampments consuming parks and neighborhoods right here in our district, and we hear reports that hundreds of known terrorists have entered our country. I will be a member of Congress who prioritizes public safety and fights crime, starting with a secure, controlled border. Our law enforcement and our communities in the 4th District need reinforcements in Washington, D.C. In Congress, I will ensure our law enforcement has the authority and resources that they need to keep us safe. I will sign on to the bipartisan legislation H.R. 3321, the Defund Cities That Defund Police Act, a bill that prevents taxpayer dollars from funding cities that have defunded law enforcement. Years ago, Steve Dole, from whom you just heard, he worked to amend the Oregon Constitution to declare this: laws for the punishment of crime shall be founded on these principles: protection of society, personal responsibility, accountability for one's actions, and reformation. It is such common sense. But like the words of our U.S. Constitution that I swore to uphold as an officer in the United States Air Force, these words lose their meaning if our justice system fails to live up to them. I'm humbled that such distinguished law enforcement officials support this campaign for bold, new leadership in Congress, and I promise I will never let you down. I'm ready to take this battle to Congress, and it starts with casting your ballots for me, Monique DeSpain, by May 21st. Thank you.
Ed Deal, representative, and then Steve Dole, Crime Victims United, president, and then Kevin Mayer. Yeah, I don't know if you had any. This is a time period we could allow for some follow-up questions if you have. You got some before. Scotty, did
Yes.
you want to ask any questions while?
I can do it afterwards, or how would you prefer? I can do it. Do an aside. I think she already did an aside.
She did an aside.
That's
yeah.
fine.
Did you have some questions you wanted to ask?
I don't know. I mean, I got to interview her, so I feel like we kind of covered most of what.
And I have a copy of the press release.
Okay, yeah. I saw it, most probably.
Yes, sure. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know if you needed to talk to any of them, but Steve Dole, president, he first Ed Deal, representative, and then Steve Dole spoke, and then Kevin Mason.
I guess it always kind of.
Okay, let me just turn this off.